Oh, definitely poo sticks. Although we probably needed to pick up the sticks before we got on the bridge.
It's going to be difficult to
We could work a couple of girders loose and play industrial poo sticks. It's day 3 on the Speyside Way, and after being on our own for almost the whole of day 2, Francis and I are having trouble readjusting to society. There was even people today.
Yeah.
Weird.
Today we're hiking down the River Spey from Ballindalloch to Craigellachie. The route follows the old railway the whole way, which means the path is wide and almost completely flat all day. It makes this a very accessible section for anyone, and even though personally I wouldn't mind a hill or two, it's kind of a relief after yesterday's barbed wire obstacle course. Anyway, we soon find our first abandoned station of the day.
Big for a station building. It's more like an engine shed or something. Yes.
The station is called Blacksboat. It's named after the ferry that used to cross the river here. The ferry has since been replaced by a bridge which connects the 3 houses on this side of the river to the 2 on the other. It must be quite a sight at rush hour. And I imagine there were at least 4 locals and a horse who were absolutely outraged when the station was closed in the 1960s. A little further on, the path crosses the Caliburn, a tributary that flows into the River Spey. I thought I'd turn my camera on to record the view from the bridge.
Sort of view.
It was entirely average. Next, we found huge warehouses full of whiskey. It took quite a lot of restraint just to walk past them. This is the Tamdhu distillery, which has been producing single malt whiskey since 1896, although these days it's mainly used to create blended whiskies like the famous Grouse. Whiskey is one of 2 specialities of the Speyside region, the other one being delicious fresh salmon. The sight of a welly-booted fisherman standing patiently next to the river, or even in the middle of the river, is a classic Speyside postcard view. Next up, it's another old station, and this time it's KNOCKANDO, which coincidentally is what I would have to say if you asked me to do a Scottish accent. There are 2 big whisky producers in the village, the KNOCKANDO distillery and the Tamdhu distillery that we just walked past. Tamdhu have bought and restored KNOCKANDO station for use as a visitor centre. They've also taken the liberty of renaming it, because I suppose if you're Tamdhu, then KNOCKANDO just wouldn't do. A couple of miles further down the path, we find another old station and another distillery next to it. Dalmunnock was built in 2015 on the site of the old Imperial distillery at CARRON station. And you know what? I'm beginning to think I've cracked the mystery. Not the mystery of Scottish pronunciation.
How do you pronounce that then? How do you pronounce this one? It's clearly French. De Louen.
Is a little bit French.
De Louen Alte.
But I might just have cracked the mystery of this railway, because there's one thing that links all the stations we've seen. Cromdale in the middle of nowhere, Ballindalloch in the middle of nowhere, KNOCKANDO in the middle of nowhere, CARRON in the middle of nowhere, and De Louen, apparently, in the middle of nowhere. Of course, the railway was never built for passengers. As usual in Britain, everything can be explained by alcohol. Now, all this walking past distilleries and stations had made me quite hungry and thirsty. Francis promised me that we would find a tea room at the next stop in ABERLOUR.
I see no tea room.
I couldn't see it, but luckily, I could hear it. With a population of just under 1,000, ABERLOUR is absolutely tiny, and also the biggest place we've seen in 2 days. The old station building here houses not just a tea room, but a Speyside Way visitor centre, where you can watch a film about the Speyside Way while you're waiting for the tea room to open, because brilliantly, it's closed for lunch. Eventually we get some food, and it's a good thing we did, because heading north out of ABERLOUR, everything suddenly smells of delicious buttery biscuits.
Oh no, it's still there.
That is very much so there.
I think we found the best spot of the Speyside.
I think we'll just stay here and get absolutely off our tits on butter.
It turns out that ABERLOUR is the home of the famous Walker's Scottish shortbread, and this is where they have their
It's a
factory.
beautiful smell. I'm still on a sugar high a few minutes later when we find this.
I'll probably speed up the footage.
This is the Tamanuri Tunnel, which provides excellent opportunities for echoes. It's the only tunnel on the whole line, so you have to make the most of it, right? After the tunnel, it's only a short walk to Craigellachie. This is the end of our day, and it's also where the path leaves the old railway, which used to split here with trains going east to Keith and north to Elgin. There's not much left of Craigellachie station these days, but the local pub's very nice, so here's some video of that. Meanwhile, a large part of the Keith branch has been preserved, and you can pick up a steam train from Dufftown, a few miles down the road, just behind these magnificent Highland cows. For us, though, it's time to go and get some dinner. I think I'll have the salmon with the whiskey and shortbread, please. Thanks for watching. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, then please do check it out. Part 3 will be along shortly, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and I will see you soon for more travel, trekking and transport.